Yeah.
Hey everybody, what's up? All right, so thank you all for coming, seriously, and for all the love that you've been showing this book so far. Everybody bought it today, everybody bought it before. And before we get this started, I just want to thank a couple of people, and then I'm going to introduce these two guys who I think you already know, but whatever. But I want to thank Lesser Gods Books, who put out this book on Roger. Give them some love. Yeah! And shout out to Jenny Hussein and Right Angle PR has been promoting the book, getting the word out. I want to give a special shout out to John Wiederhorn over here, who worked on the book of Roger. Another extra special shout out to Generation Records for having us here and doing this. And again, most of all, thank all of you for coming through and supporting this and showing some love for Roger and the book. So I'm going to introduce you real quick. Drew Stone is going to be our moderator for the night. You may know him from the New York Hardcore Chronicles page and film.
What's up?
And
introduce my drummer.
And drummer for the night, Vinny Stigma. I also want to thank you all for joining us for this alt-right meeting. And
notice my shirt.
Thanks for leaving your tiki torches at the door. And our guest of honor on the eve of the publishing of his autobiography from Agnostic Front, Roger Miret.
Thank you, Howard. All right. Thanks for coming out, everybody, and here we go.
Wait a minute, I'm not done. I personally want to thank each and every one of you for being here with me tonight, for real. Means a lot to me. Means a lot to me, to Vinny, our band, our scene, our film, our everything. Thank you all.
Born in Havana, Cuba, in order to escape the Castro regime, he moved to the United States with his mother at 4 years old, eventually settling down in Passaic, New Jersey. He's the older half-brother of Madball frontman Freddie Christian, and has two other siblings, Rudy and Myra. Having grown up in an abusive household, he found himself on his own as a teenager on the streets of New York City's gritty Lower East Side. Living in squats with other eccentric characters and victims of childhood abuse, he found himself at the forefront of the first wave of what was later known as American hardcore. He's the vocalist for Roger Miret and the Disasters, as well as the Alligators. As the frontman for Agnostic Front, he is one of the pioneers of the New York hardcore scene, and I think it's safe to say that if it wasn't for him, New York hardcore as we know it would not exist. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and yours, Roger Miret.
Thank you, Drew.
All right. So, for many years in talking, back and forth, you and me, this book thing has come up. You've had it sort of in the back burner for a long time. Why is it finally coming to fruition now?
To be honest with you, I started this thing back in 1999, but if it wasn't for John, I would have never finished it. And that's the honest truth, because I was all over the place. Life took its course, I started in 1999. Lars helped me out, Lars from Rancid. I lost it twice, World Trade Center. I lost it again, through another virus, and then I attempted at it one more time, and it was just frustrating. And then John had reached out to me through when we started making the film, The Godfathers of Hardcore, which is pretty cool. And you guys will be seeing that soon. And then I was a little hesitant, and I guess pride got in the way and all that good stuff, But John had good intentions, and we sat down a lot. We did a lot of work together, and I appreciate John for pulling me together and making this story what it is. Thank you. So John played a major role, honestly, because like I said, I was all over the place with it, and I'm not a writer really, it's just more a storyteller, and that's what I wanted to get across and tell you my life, my story in a way. This is John, everybody.
Hey, John.
My friend John. Thank you, brother.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you. Yeah. So together, he helped me get it all together, get it right through the work of Lesser Gods, the editors, Howie, and everybody. And it is what it is today. We lost a few pages in the edits, which will hopefully come back in maybe a second printing or something. And it was fun. It was really fun. It was exciting.
So you had to start from scratch again? Like
No, well, I've got, it's interesting. I have those floppy disk home.
Yeah.
All the start. I've got stories that I've sent you. I've sent you all the other stuff. There was a good chunk there, but a good chunk all over the place, and then just getting it right.
Yeah. Good.
And also, shooting the shit with Vinny on tour. A lot of this comes from conversations, personal conversations. I recorded everything from the very start. Just personal conversations, shooting the shit with friends on tour, just reminiscing on our past, on our lives. Everybody wants to know about, what was it like in New York City. But that's the stuff that maybe a lot of you guys want to know and stuff. But then my own personal struggles is my own personal struggles, and that's what you guys are gonna read or hear about soon. And how my little brother Freddie got involved in the scene, how Madball came around. My struggles with life in general, my prison encounter, which I'm not proud of. I fucked up. To be honest with you, but I'm manning up to it. I'm admitting my fuck ups, and I've done a lot of things I shouldn't have done, and I think we've all have. I don't know. I like to think that we've all maybe have done something, But either way you put it, that's a lot of the story that you're gonna read. You're gonna read. It's like 4 stories. Is of course, a New York hardcore thing. Then you're gonna read the story of me coming as a kid from Cuba to America, living in poverty, living in the ghettos. I didn't know I was living in a ghetto. Nobody knows you're living in a ghetto when you're a kid. You're just there with your family, and then you go back and you visit. Like, holy shit, I lived here, and stuff like that. But coming from another country, and I speak one language, that was tough.
So you came to America from Cuba when you were 4, and you ended up in New Jersey. Your mom and dad split when your stepfather entered the picture, who turned out to be very abusive. It's safe to say your home life. It's safe to say that your home life as a kid was very chaotic. Can you give us some perspective on that?
It was chaotic. You're gonna get a lot of perspective when you read about it. It was very chaotic. There's some stuff that not everything is there. But the most important thing about it is, as chaotic as it was, there was a lot of reasoning behind it. I'm not trying to. Sometimes I sit back and I think about it, because part of the chaos, part of the abuse was his own, my stepdad's own struggles. That's how he was raised, and that's how he thought we should be raised. Mostly importantly, what's really insane and crazy here is he wanted us boys, me, my brother Rudy, eventually Freddie, he wanted to toughen us up, and that's how he thinks toughening us up goes. A lot of us here are parents, and we think differently. And you just don't go around doing the things that were done. I had a lot more mental stuff too, but not everything was horrible. That's what's important to say. The other day I was just having lunch with my wife, and I had a good memory. That's odd. I remember coming into New York City, 14th Street used to be the electronics section. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sure.
When you wanted to go shopping for electronics, you went to
14th Street. Yeah.
And I remember wanting my first boom box, And I'm like, man, it was Christmas time. And he took me to get me my first boom box. And that's just a good memories there too, But it's, sometimes the bad stuff drowns the good stuff. And people, and especially parents out here, you need to remember that, and just in everything, for every bad thing you do, you're going to get a lot more. It's going to go farther than any good thing you do, which is sad, but that's a story of my life.
So basically at 17 you were on your own. You got out of the house. And so why did you gravitate towards punk and eventually hardcore at that age? Did it give you a sense of family that you longed for?
Absolutely. All of us kids that were here, like you, Drew, Vinny, back here, Kabula's here somewhere.
Yeah.
Kabula was an exception, man. Kabula's dad is awesome. Kabula has a great family, man. There's those exceptions,
Yeah.
Like Kabula really, his dad was part of our scene, man.
His dad's in all the old pictures of everyone in front of CBGB's. Kabula's dad standing there with a beer in his hand.
But Kabula loved the craziness. You'll read all about that in my book. He's completely out of his mind. But anyway, a lot of us came together because we just felt safer together. It's probably the best way to put it. And that's another reason why Freddie came to our scene really young. When he was 6, I have photos of him when he was 6 years old at CBGB's. You know, a lot of you guys have seen a photo. He was 7. I have photos of him 6. One of them was gonna make it in a book. It was too dark, unfortunately. But maybe I'll throw it up online or something. But you know, for some weird reason, I just felt Freddie would be safer with me. You know, even though he's 6 years old, we're living in abandoned buildings, drug addicts everywhere, junkies everywhere, criminals everywhere. But for some reason, we didn't. It wasn't a threat to us. You know, we just felt, because we were together, we felt at home. You know, so it's kind of weird. You know, it was like a tribe. You know, it wasn't a gang. That we never had a gang mentality. We had more of a real, true, united mentality of sticking together, and we defended ourselves and defended from other people kind of, you know, trying to come in and do something to us. That's how it was. It was a tribe.
Well, we talked about it in the film also, the New York Hardcore Chronicles. So I mean, this is something we bantered this about back and forth, that, you know, back then in that early scene, you know, it was like, you know, 30 people. Yeah. It was a real kind of close-knit kind of clique, the nucleus of it.
It was 30 people. In fact, I think 30 people, I think we're exaggerating sometimes.
Those are the big shows.
But those are the shows when you had, you know, Agnostic Front, Crowd, Urban Ways,
SSD Control,
Circle Jerks. You know, these were 30 people. You know, but the cool thing about it is everybody was in a band. Yeah. It's really, and if you weren't in a band, if somebody showed up and somebody was missing, you were in that band for that night. I played in countless bands, you know, and I think we've had countless drummers fill in here and there, and who knows, you know how to play a song or two. Till date, it still happens. We just recently went to Russia with a guy named Mongo, right? Boingo, Bongo. You can look it up, Google, Bongo and Agnostic Front.
Pokey couldn't get in?
Pokey was hurt, unfortunately. Pokey's here somewhere.
Right.
But that was crazy. But I'm just saying that we all, you know, helped each other. Tito's here. I don't know if everybody knows Tito's here from early Warzone. Mm-hmm. And he remembers all that stuff.
I think that, you know, something else that we've talked about is how back then in those early days, there was room for everybody. And even if you weren't in a band, if you were a gal that was coming around, you started a fanzine, or you started
Wendy, who's here tonight.
Yeah, Wendy from Guillotine's here.
Right.
Right. So it was a very even playing field with the girls as well back then, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we really stuck together. We never separated. There was no sexism or racism or any of that stuff. We really were. There was no room for that. Anyway, this is New York City. We know how to live with each other. Nobody ever, you know, it wasn't about all the crazy things we see today. I mean, religion really never played a part in punk rock, if you ask me. But if that was the case, that didn't bother anybody, you know. And it was just, we were just a really tight, beautiful community, man. That's what we were.
So, can you talk a little bit about how your musical journey started? Like, how did you get into music, and you know, and how did you eventually end up in Agnostic Front a little bit? You know.
Well, I played with to go quickly. I played with 3 bands before Agnostic Front. One being Rabies, which was more of a Susie and Banshees type of band. I love Susie, by the way. I love the Banshees too.
But it had nothing to do with rabies. It was
no. It was called Rabies, like the dog bite rabies.
Right.
You know. And then I went on to play with I played with Distorted Youth, and in Distorted Youth we had Andre from what was Andre's band? Vinny, remember? The Press. Andre from The Press. He was our singer. Elio Espana was our guitar player, who's also tattooed all of us.
Yeah.
At Vinny's Kitchen. And Dave was our drummer. A lot of people don't know Dave. Anyway, after that, I went just coming out here, hanging out, and doing this stuff, going to record stores. I remember stopping at Rat Cage Records at 171A, and I saw a little sign that said bass player wanted. It said Psycho's bass player wanted, and it had a Jersey phone number, which is bizarre. And I was coming back and forth from Jersey. I lived right there in Union City, which is really, it's no different than living in Queens. It's just a path, that's all it is, or Jersey City. And I called that number, and that's how I got into Psychos. And
It was
And
Billy and Stu, right?
Billy and Stu, just Billy and Stu.
Right, right.
And then eventually we auditioned